Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is Ship Updates Now. Let's just get started because we got a bunch of things to cover. So here we are with the Cutlass, and as you know, the Cutlass is going to be getting a bit of a revamp, or at least we thought it was getting a bit of a revamp. Turns out, now originally we had been treated to this turntable model of the new and revamped Cutlass. Now it was of course a thicker, more substantial looking Cutlass, and it was very much closer to the original concept art that the Cutlass had been sold upon, way back in the day. And it looked really good. I mean, now there was apparently quad guns on the front of it, not only the turret, but there were now 4 guns on it. It looked far more substantial. And I was frankly quite excited by this artwork, but what was missing was scale. Now recently Sandy Gardner tweeted this image of the Cutlass rework in progress, and you can see the little figure down in the front to give the image some scale. But this had just been, it was one of those things that, I kind of looked at it and went, well, it looks like the wings have certainly gotten thicker, but it never really sunk in just how much the scale of this ship has changed. So let me show you another image to give you some reference over the old Cutlass. Now this image here, you can see, of course, on the bottom, on the left hand side you have the new Cutlass, on the right you have the old Cutlass, and that's a pretty significant shift in size. And up in the top you can see half of one, half of the other. I mean, just the height of the turrets alone, it's like a whole extra turret high. It's a much bigger ship. It's almost to the point of being like a freelancer now. And then there were some images that were released to subscribers which instantly made it onto Reddit and were distributed all over the place, so I feel it's kind of safe to show them here. It's revealed some very interesting things. Now here, of course, is an image detailing some of the interior changes. But you know what? Let me enlarge this for you. Just one sec. So if you look here, you can see a Dragonfly inside of the Cutlass, and there's enough room in the exit hatch to actually drive it out, as it's kind of got slanted sides on it to kind of make it wider at the bottom, so you can actually get a Dragonfly out of the Caterpillar now, which is actually pretty cool. I actually kind of like the idea of being able to carry a Dragonfly around in a Caterpillar. So let's say you visit a planet, there you go, you stop, you can pull out your Dragonfly, go explore around on the ground, then hop back into your Caterpillar, maybe if you're doing a mission or something like that. Then beyond that, if you come over here, you can see the new sleeping quarters inside the ship. Now, there was a subsequent post by Matt Sherman saying there's only going to be 2 beds and not 4, but still, you can kind of see that the neck area has actually been widened out and turned into a bit of like a little mini, kind of living space within the ship. Now, of course, these images kind of, as you can see here with the, with the original art, and then with the ship next to it down at the bottom, and the overall images of the ship from all around up top, it adheres a lot more closely to the original idea, the original design behind the Caterpillar. It even has the the sliding doors on the side, so that you can actually hop out of it the same way you would hop out of a helicopter, which a long time ago in a Cutlass video, I kind of referred to the Cutlass as being like a bit of a Huey on the Star Citizen battlefield, like the Huey helicopter. And to see this kind of all come together is really cool. But the size thing, I think, is still going to be, I think some people are going to be a little put off by that. At first, here I am flying around in what is the current Cutlass, and I can't help but feel a little nostalgia for this model. I really can't. I've been flying around on it since I saw this art, and it's just like, hopefully there'll be some place for this model still somewhere. And these changes, of course, these are very basic changes. We're obviously not going to see the finished version of the ship with all the interiors all done up. So, I mean, even though, there is some changes, I mean, once it's all done up to the level of the Herald and the Caterpillar, it's possibly going to be just a great looking ship. And I'm still enthusiastic about it, even though this represents a huge shift in the size and the implications for the Red. Obviously having a lot more room inside to operate within, or, for the Blue, carry more prisoners in, or whatever you're going to do with that ship. And just obviously the increased cargo capacity for anybody who owns a Cutlass out there. And I know there's a few people besides myself who are still kind of clinging onto this ship. And, there is the possibility that with such a significant size increase, there's going to be a price increase, right? So, obviously, now would be the time, if you have this ship, to hang on to it, because you're probably going to be getting a little bit more ship for your money than you got originally with the Cutlass. So, definitely going to be some interesting days ahead for this ship, and I'm overall enthusiastic. Just, it seems a little biggish to me. I don't know, maybe I just got to get used to it, but overall, still enthusiastic about this ship, and I can't wait to see how it looks with the sliding doors on the sides and, the revamped interior space when it's finished. Now, also in the ship news was, of course, this image here, also from Sandy Gardner's Twitter, that detailed the work being done on the Buccaneer's landing gear. Now, of course, we know the Buccaneer is in production right now. We saw an ATV segment with Matt Sherman prior to the Christmas break that showed him kind of working a little bit on the flight model and working on the ship. And the reason why the landing gear had to be redone, as he explained it, was so that a pilot who was sitting in the Buccaneer could then use the turret that's mounted underneath the ship to engage ground targets if he was landed. Also from Twitter and Sandy, we also have this image of, and you can see Chris Roberts there on the left, the beginning of the rework on the Aurora. So the Aurora is getting, it looks like a bit of a cockpit revamp. Hopefully they'll change that seat around so you don't have to kind of like squeeze past it to get into the cockpit of your Aurora. But yeah, the Aurora's rework has officially begun. So some very, very interesting stuff with those ships there. Now, I'm going to end this show off with a little bit of speculation here, because this is a question I've been asked a few times. When do you think the Polaris is going to get finished? And the truth is, I don't know. I really, there are so many factors to making a guess about when the Polaris would be finished that I really can't tell. I mean, when you look at the production schedule, and we're talking about the production schedule that we got all the way back in August, which kind of outlined the roadmap to 4.0, there was a lot of big ships in there. And specifically stateside, where they work on the RSI ships like the Polaris, there's a lot of work on their plate. Of course, there's the Orion coming up, the big mining ship. There's, of course, the Aurora revamp and the Connie variants that all have to be finished. For the RSI ships, there's, of course, the Drake ships that are being worked on now, the Buccaneer, the Cutlass. Those ships have got to be finished and put, in game. So there's a lot on their plate. So 2017, of course, is basically it never going to happen. It's completely impossible that you'll see this ship in 2017. In 2018, I would say still unlikely, because, over on the UK side, even if they shifted it over to the UK is still working on ships like the Crucible, the Reclaimer, the Banu Merch. There's so many ships that are up at the head of the line that need to get done, that I don't foresee this ship being done within 2 years, given the production schedule that we have right now, and given the information that we have right now. I just, and I'm not saying it like you're never going to see your ship until 2019, blah, blah, blah. You know, like I'm just saying, like logically, I can't see it being done even with Squadron 42. All of a sudden, Miracle Squadron 42 is done. All those resources are freed up. There's still a lot of ships that are in the lineup that on either side of the Atlantic are going to have to be done prior to the Polaris even being started. And of course, the Polaris is going to be a process. This is a big, big ship. Now, even given all of that information, so I've kind of made a logical argument and kind of hopefully not, dashed people's hopes. I'm not saying it to be mean, or I'm not saying it to be like, you're not getting it. But logically, it's not going to be for a while, right? But an argument could be made that CIG could turn around and say, you know what, this is a marquee ship. This is a very iconic ship. It's like if there was a movie poster, this ship would be on the movie poster, right? I mean, it would be there. I mean, it looks like it totally kicks ass. And so someone could make an argument within CIG and say, hey, we should maybe push this ship up in the schedule to get this ship out. And so, I mean, that is a possibility. Something like that could happen. But realistically, right now, there's a lot of people waiting for a lot of different ships. And even if there were 4,000 Polarises out there, compared to the amount of backers there are in the game, that's still a very small portion of the community. And so it would be kind of a dirty thing to kind of push all those people aside just for a very small portion of the community. So realistically, I would say that, the Polaris is probably, at the very least, 2 years away. Now, it could, of course, the miracle could happen for the Polaris owners, and CIG could say, okay, you know what? We could go on Twitter today, and all of a sudden you see a post from Sandy Gardner, and it's like Polaris in production, and you see somebody starting to work on the model, and everyone would just like lose their minds, of course, and the back and forth would, on the forums would be hilarious. But even if that happened, even if they said all hands on deck, we're doing the Polaris, it would still be at least a year before this ship was flyable and in game. There is so much that would have to be done on this ship, and we've seen it with the Caterpillar. I mean, we started seeing the interior design work and the blocking out of the Caterpillar all the way back in 2015, and here we are in 2017, and we're now flying. Well, technically, we got it right on the cusp of 2017, but it took a long time, and the Caterpillar was a much smaller ship than the Polaris is. Now, of course, with every ship, things speed up, but still, that's a really big ship, and that would take a lot of resources to get done. So I really don't foresee that happening. I think, honestly, 2 years at the minimum. Within a year, we'll probably know more, but 2 years at the minimum before we see the Polaris. Anyways, that's the show for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.